Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. Today we're going to do a BT token guide for the month of January. Now, there's actually a lot of good characters coming out this month. A couple of them aren't confirmed, or I should say 4 of them aren't confirmed, but I'm pretty darn sure they're coming, so we'll talk about them. The one thing that I want to talk about, just a couple of disclaimers at the beginning, is one is that I normally talk about like the first character in the following month, which would be February. Well, that should be anniversary. So I'm going to tell you this right now. We don't even know what the anniversary characters, but I will recommend them as a top choice for your BT tokens. So if you have BT tokens and you can hold them till early February, then whatever the global first, assuming global first character is, they would definitely be worth your tokens. Now, if it's a brand new character, you're going to need a summon for the whole kit anyway, so you may get the BT along the way. Just make sure you're done on the banners before you use the token. So that's my one disclaimer there. The other thing is that you want to make sure that whatever character you use your BT tokens on, they are either a character you can currently summon for to get the rest of the kit, or you already have their whole kit. You don't want to get just the BT and not have the other weapons. So you want the character built all the way up through the LD at least. You don't have to have the FR, but you want them at least built through LD for it to make it worth getting the burst. The other thing to think about during this video, I'm really focused on like the BT effect side of things. So, and I'll also talk about like which characters are better than others, but like there could be a character that's really good, but their BT effect isn't necessary, so I might not recommend their BT as much, right? So a good example will be on this first slide here. So I'm going to kind of go through like the more minor or returning characters first, and I'll try to end on the hype characters and then talk about kind of who I think are the best ones for your tokens, right? So here we have Charlotta, Lunafreya, and Kane, and I'll dip over to the next page and you'll see Kamla not there at the end. These are the 4 that are not confirmed from the community stream, but they put up a slide that said that there were going to be 2 double BTFR banners, which means there's going to be 2 different banners that each have 2 BTFRs. And based on special campaign banners that JP got around this time, my theory is that one banner will be Kane and Lunafreya, and the other banner will be Charlotta and Kamlanot, right? So I'm going to start by talking about those 4. Honestly, like Kane, Lunafreya, and Charlotta, like none of them like need their BT effects to be good. We'll put it that way. If you're going to go for Kane, like Kane doesn't need his BT effect. It's kind of just got generic buffs on it. And Kane, most people are just using to bring in for off-turn damage. So I wouldn't really recommend grabbing Kane's BT right now. Lunafreya's BT effect is good, but not necessary. So Lunafreya has like 2 of the most busted buffs in the game, which are Heavy Prayer and Quick Prayer. Her BT effect extends them in extra turns. So you get an extra turn of them, which is very good, but it still isn't 100% necessary for like Lunafreya to be broken. But if you're going to use Lunafreya as much as I've used Lunafreya, you might as well go all out and max her out. There are things like, say, doing the Enna Crow setup with Hope, where like having that extra turn is actually impactful. Like you need that extra turn to kind of make it work the way you want to sometimes. So Lunafreya, I would say, is a recommended BT, but it isn't like a required one. Like Lunafreya is fine LD only, right? You definitely don't need her FR either. So it's up to you how far you want to build Lunafreya, but Lunafreya is probably the best support character that's going to be available this month, if I'm correct that she's coming back, which I think she will be. I could be wrong, though. Could be wrong. Charlotta's BT is also very good. It does help her Brave gains. If you are going to go in on Charlotta, I do recommend her BT effect for sure, but isn't like a must-grab BT this month if you don't want to, right? Then we have Machina, Kieran, and then Cam. I got to finish talking about Cam. Cam is obviously getting a little bit dated at this point. He was known as being basically the most busted FR when he came out, basically through a loophole where he kind of worked unintended and the programmers didn't fix it, and they essentially just made it so all FRs operate on his level, if not better, right? So right now his FR isn't like the craziest thing to use, but I do actually like his BT effect. So if you're someone that is going to use Cam, his BT effect is very good and is actually very important for helping his FR work, right? Now, if you don't have Cam, I don't recommend you go in on his repeat and try to get him. But if for some reason you have the kit already and you're just missing the BT, it's not the worst BT to pick up. His BT makes it so that basically every action you take, or every, I guess every time you deal any damage to the enemies, it puts a paralyze on them. So it's really good. You can really keep the enemies locked down with that constant paralyze from the BT. So I would say Cam's BT is very important for him and making him look good. The problem is Cam's not a top tier character right now. So I wouldn't, if you don't have Cam built, I really don't recommend it. But if you have him built up to that point and you just want it, then sure, go for it. But Cam isn't really meta right now like he was when he first dropped. Kieran is a support character, and his BT effect just basically makes his support better. But it's not like a must-have BT. He can operate fine without it. He's just going to look better if you have it. But he isn't like the top-tier support character I'd recommend like Luna Freya. Machina, his BT is a must if you're going to use him. And Machina is getting an FR and a rework. So Machina is going to be looking pretty good this month. The thing is if you're, if you've got your Jack Garland or even your Tifa's or Renoa's still, you don't need Machina. But if you have him already built or you're intent on using him, then his BT is actually a must. It gives him his really good BT or his good HP plus attack that makes him do insane damage. So if you're planning to use Machina at all, you have to, in my mind, have to have his BT. So it's kind of like, are you going to use Machina or not? And that's going to tell you whether you should use your BT tokens on him, right? Then coming up, we got Onion Knight, we've got a Rohan, we've got Furion. Now, out of these three, I'd say Aroha is probably the best one to grab out of these three here. Aroha's BT allows your party to essentially do more HP damage and have a higher HP cap, which is very, very good, especially for a support character. So, Aroha's, and I'm pretty sure, I'm thinking about tokening her this month. Because I think in the timeline of where I'm going to have tokens, she would fit for me. And the other, to me, the must BT character this month, I'm going to go in on gems and just pity it. So I think that Aroha would be my personal target, the token. And actually, I just noticed mine's Force Enhanced 10. I'm probably going to bump her to 30 now, because I'm probably going to use her more with this rework coming out. But Aroha, yeah, just allowing your party to do more HP damage and HP cap up is actually very good. So Aroha, I think, has a very, very nice BT effect, very much worth picking up if you're going to use her as one of your main support characters, right? Furion and Onion Knight kind of have generic ones. I actually think Onion Knight's is kind of trash. I haven't looked at his effect much after rework, but basically his initial BT effect is super underwhelming because Onion Knight basically revolves around, he has a physical damage stance and he has a magic damage stance. So the thing that made Onion Knight cool back in the day was certain fights would have different defenses. Sometimes you want to use physical, sometimes you want to use magic damage, whatever. In today's game, physical and magic damage almost don't even matter because you can pretty much set up weakness damage, and when you have weakness damage, it really doesn't matter what you're doing. What they're going to do during Onion Knight, I haven't personally looked ahead at the fight, but I can almost guarantee you they're going to give the fight some type of gimmick where it's really important to be physical or magic and possibly switch in between to showcase that. But moving forward, that's not something that's going to be important. It really, outside of Onion Knight's featured fights, being able to switch between physical and magic damage really has been a very irrelevant thing in the game, right? So yeah, Onion Knight's BT, definitely don't need that. Furion's BT, it's just kind of like generic stats. It doesn't have any crazy effects. So Furion, you definitely don't need. Then we've got kind of some of the more impactful, well, I wouldn't say more impactful characters, but we got the main highlight character, which is going to be Jack Garland. Now, Jack Garland, as I'm recording this, is not in the game, so I've just got regular Garland up there to kind of symbolize it. But we'll talk about Lightning and our boy Greg, or Gilgamesh, first here. Really, they just have generic BT effects as well, which are just stats. They're good, they're not bad, but they don't have any special effects, right? So unless you really like the character and you're going to use them a lot, you really don't need their BT effects. And I would say Gilgamesh as a character, I've just never been a fan of anyway, so I wouldn't recommend pulling for him. Lightning, I think with her rework is actually quite solid, and I do like Lightning. But her BT isn't necessary for her to operate. She's still very good without it. So that's what you can think about for those two. Now, Jack Garland, oh boy. Jack Garland is the number one pick. I think the only thing that's going to compete with Jack Garland for your BT tokens is the anniversary character, which technically is going to be early February anyways. So in terms of strictly talking about January, Jack Garland is the BT you want. Jack Garland's BT is insane because what it does is basically a new mechanic that the game hasn't seen up until he comes out. he basically allows the enemy to have a negative brave value, which basically means that like once you break them, it'll calculate the brave damage and actually go into a negative value. So what'll happen is the enemies will still show as break, but then it will like fade back and forth between break, and then it will show like a red brave value. And what happens is the larger their negative brave is, it adds true HP damage onto your attacks. And this is what makes Jack Garland busted. So if you're going to go for Jack Garland, you definitely want that BT effect. You want it green. You want it maxed up. So this month, number one pick for sure, 100 mega % is Jack Garland. Outside of Jack Garland, nothing else here this month I would say is like a must-have. It's going to kind of depend on preference and, you know, like personally what characters you're building up. But honestly, if I'm just kind of looking at the month, like I'm just kind of summarizing here, looking at the whole month, I actually kind of like Iroha. I think Iroha might be like slot 2 for me, or like Luna Freya. And me saying that because like Luna Freya once again isn't like so necessary for her kit because she's still really good without it. But it's just Luna Freya is a character that if you really understand how good she is, like you're going to use her in almost every team comp. Like those of you have watched my channel for any amount of time and you watch my Shinryu runs, Luna Freya is in probably like 90 to 95% of my runs because she makes every character look better. So if you're using a character that much, it's very much worth having that BT effect in order to get an extra turn onto her busted buffs, which make her so good and give her that longevity. So even though the BT isn't necessary for Luna Freya to be good, she's still very high up for me because I feel like it's a BT you're going to get a lot of use out of, and it does have a very good effect, right? I'll shout out Cam just because he's got a good unique BT effect, but because I don't really recommend Cam as like an in-party character right now, I probably wouldn't recommend a BT. But if you like Cam and you want to set up for his next rework, like you're going to want, like whenever the next time Cam is relevant, you're going to want the BT because he's busted with that BT and that like basically shut down paralyze. And then I guess we have to talk about if you're going to use Machina, he is a must-have BT for himself personally. But yeah, I think it's today, this is like one of the easier months where I can just say Jack Garland, go all in Jack Garland. And then, yeah, I'm thinking Roja is probably my number 2. So, anyways, let me know what you guys think. If there's a character I didn't talk about that you want to know about, because here's the other thing. You can grab any BT that's been released in the game. So, I'm only talking about characters that are going to be, like, available on banners this month. So, there could be older characters that are on other, you know, from previous. If you have the rest of their kit, you might want to pick up their BT, right? But I try to keep this more relevant to like what characters you're going to actually be able to pull for. Because like I said, you need the whole kit. You can't just have the BT, right? So anyways, guys, let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to hop into my Discord if you want to ask me more. Hopefully this guide helps y'all out. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.